in the corner over there. So what you say is going to be online eventually. So just keep that in mind as we go forward. All right, I'm going to call this meeting to order of the Franklin Township Board of Supervisors. If we could please rise for an invocation. Dear Lord, let us guide our minds as we work through the work and the agenda for the supervisors meeting today. Please protect with your hand our residents and our employees as they go through their day, and those in the world that are struggling every day to find your light. Please shine upon them. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Pledge of the flag, please. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Everybody sign in that wanted to speak. All right. You're up.
I didn't have anything to say. I just want to participate. If you wanting you to make me mad, so I want to be able to talk.
All right. Well, we'll get to that then.
Yeah.
All right, Rod.
Mr. Bailey, thank you. I signed up to speak before I got the agenda, and I see on the correspondence that you're going to address this situation, but I've been getting a lot of calls regarding a meeting you had with the solar company regarding the Camp Run project. And people are a little bit upset, they're telling me, so here I am asking. I think the main thing is why hasn't it appeared on the agenda previously under correspondence? So if you're going to address that,
We are.
the board will address that later or now. That's all I wanted.
Okay. Kirk Peffer.
Hi, everybody. I didn't know it was gonna be coming, but, I got a question for you. Working down at Tractor Supply right now with my grandson, we're doing a little bit of landscaping for Tractor Supply. The retention ponds that were put in, through the course of that project, I know they had a lot of rain and a lot of mud, in the beginning. And the conservation district, as far as I'm concerned, didn't really work with them like they should have with all that rain and all the mess that they had. But anyhow, they got the job done. But the guy that owns the building himself, Tractor Supply doesn't own that, they just rent it. I just wondered why things are never finished. Like they do in Cranberry. They would never leave a big mess around a building, a brand new building in Cranberry like they have down there at Tractor Supply. Now I'm working for my grandson on the project, on this thing. And the only reason why they called my grandson back in to do the job was to straighten up, some of the mess that was left behind, because apparently this guy is selling this building off to another investor, and the other investor wants this done. Would there be any way that the planning commission or the supervisors could make these new companies, these new businesses, finish the job instead of leaving everything, half done? Because everything down there was only half done.
Well, they rushed it. That's exactly what happened there. They for whatever reason, I spoke to the kid when they opened in June. They started in February. They opened in June. He said they were expecting November, and they were told they needed to get this done. So they rushed it. And you're exactly right. They left a mess on the outside. I couldn't understand why they opened it either, but that's probably something we should look at, is making sure that there's a completion. But I don't know. I guess how you get in the weeds on that one is, what does complete to you mean versus
You know what?
Yeah,
we
well,
all
I-
know what complete is.
when it's seeded
You
and,
would never see anything like that in Cranberry.
right. Well, but yeah. So
Can we maybe look at stipulations to say the doors don't open until everything is
When the planning
complete?
commission,
The retention
them
pond specifically?
their approvals, to do certain things, somebody has to follow up with.
Yeah, well, the retention ponds, that turned into a whole other nightmare. And then in the conservation district was on that on a pretty frequent basis to make sure that it got completed. I know that was going in steps.
And it's probably part of what they're required to do under the storm water management plan. There are certain measures that they agree to, and it runs with the property, meaning even if the current owner, sells it to a successor owner, they're still obligated to comply with that. So, my recommendation is we shoot them a letter and say X, Y, and Z needs to be done pursuant to whatever agreement, because they're required as a developer to enter into an agreement under the Stormwater Management Act to address these issues.
So you're talking outside the stormwater.
Well,
though.
if you're talking
about the
retention,
aesthetics,
if you're talking
the aesthetics of the outside.
well,
and
if you're talking retention ponds and things
Yeah.
like that,
there's teeth in that.
there's teeth in that with respect to the stormwater management ordinance we have in place, the act itself, and the agreement that the developer and owner entered into with the township. Now, the other issues, that's not been brought to my attention. I mean, I guess we need to identify specifically what those issues are as far as vegetation and things like that, and tell them we'll pursue remedies.
So it's in our purview to make that a requirement.
Well, I mean,
Because at what point
to a degree, the horse is already out of the
well,
barn.
for this one, but
Okay.
for the next one,
Well, I mean, yeah, and those all should have been done and completed pursuant to the plan before they were issued an occupancy permit to be able to open.
so we can
and do
hold the occupancy permit based on completion of all.
Well,
But
we've
no,
already
because
issued-
that's
we've
not
already-
what, their occupancy permit doesn't require all
The-
those
the
things that we're
aesthetics.
talking about.
Right. The aesthetics.
Well,
That's what I mean.
And that's the problem.
Then I need to see where they were required
Mhm.
to provide certain aesthetic components and what they have and have not done. And then at that point in time, I'd be able to give you a better sense of direction. But with respect to the retention pond and what needs to be done there, I mean, that's clearly identified and something that we can enforce immediately.
But that doesn't stop them from opening up the doors to the public, and I think that's what he's talking about. Like I even wondered, I called Shannon, like, how are they open? Like, how are they even open? Because nothing seems to be done. And we
And I
don't
guess
have
I'm
anything.
asking what those, I don't know what those
No,
things are.
it's like it wasn't seeded, it wasn't graded. They're just the outside stuff. The light poles, I don't think they even set until
After they
after they opened on that Saturday.
Mhm.
But
So-
we're not running down with the checklist
Right,
saying like,
right.
oh, wait, there's still, a whole trail of water over here. There's no seating done there. And if they didn't have lights outside, there's just a lot of things.
Okay.
And that's where I think we're all getting calls to say, how are they open and what's going on? And not that we're not happy with them being there, but
No, I understand. You
we
want them to
don't,
complete
Shannon's
the
not running
project.
down with the checklist, like, and the occupancy permit is,
Yeah, it's
It
based on
doesn't
the
have-
structure of the building.
yeah.
Didn't the conservation district do inspections?
Well, they did. There were a number of violations throughout that
And they sent
process,
you letters
Yeah.
to that effect.
and those were
And they-
addressed.
and they were remedied.
But none of them prompted us to say you're not allowed to open
On
without
their
us.
earth disturbance permit that they were issued, which is in context to the stormwater management permit.
The NPDES permit.
Yes, this would have been the NPDS for earth disturbance.
Yeah.
And that includes the stormwater management as
Mhm.
well. There's a final inspection that they have to complete, which includes all the seeding and grading and according to the plan. That permit, the plans that they submit become the permit as it rolls into that. So their plans, and it would have included all the grading plans and finished
The
criteria.
finishings, yeah.
that would have fallen under the inspection that the conservation district did. If they didn't complete the seeding and grading in accordance with their permit, their plans that they submitted as part of their application to get their permit, then they shouldn't have gotten a final inspection and cleared the
And cleared
conditions
that,
of the
correct.
permit. So
But that all happened after the doors were open. The
Well,
seating and
but-
everything.
yeah,
it doesn't matter that the doors opened and
Mhm.
that they got their occupancy permit. they have to complete.
This might be worth a
Components of their-
review from our engineer as well as a part of that.
So, so perhaps what you need to do for future is the code enforcement officer needs to accompany the conservation district during their inspections and make sure that because your plans here that you approved are part of the plan. Your development plan is also part of the earth disturbance plans. And those should be followed. And the same thing happened with the airport when they did all their construction down there. And you have, as an end result down there, you have this great big trench that runs through the middle of that property down there. Because no one armored the walls of the stream that they relocated when they ran that down through there. So there was a whole bunch of erosion and sedimentation that went on that they should have been cited for. But at the time that was going on, the conservation district did not have permitting capabilities. They weren't doing their inspections. DEP was doing those inspections back then. So this is, it's kind of a continuing problem here as a result of one hand not knowing what the other hand's doing.
We approved these plans in a meeting that's in a few minutes, and then there's nobody really other than the conservation district to follow up to see if they're doing that right, and of course the fire inspection, but I don't know, it is an issue. I'm sorry.
If your code enforcement officer or the building inspector, that when they do the building inspection, they should be looking at the entire site plan as part of.
Maybe add things to that,
Mm-hmm.
to the building inspector.
Yeah.
To have that.
Okay.
Sorry.
Aldi's is a beautiful store down there. They got everything is done to perfection. Everybody knows that. But I think that somebody needs to go back to Tractor Supply or code enforcer or whoever and make sure that everything's buttoned up around that store. When you pull into Jerry Schaefer's entrance that he owns in between the church and that, there's a hole that's 30 feet deep there, right off the bank of his driveway. That's not finished. And there's drain pipes laying down in there, they're not hooked up. So something needs to be done with that. You can't just do work like that and just abandon it. It's not good. And I think that we should have the say-so over that. When you put a store in or a building in or a township, it's just a big junk hole around it.
Well, Mr. Richardson gave out that occupancy permit before he should have done it. That retention pond wasn't even completed when he was giving out that permit. Because I live on Ada Drive, and that water through that trench had flooded that little pond right between Mr. Downs' house and the condos there. And that was done shoddy because that thing overflowed multiple times and that water came off that
It
hill.
breached it, it didn't overflow it, it actually took part of it out.
The retention ponds are working, all right, because I worked there the last couple of days and it rained the other night. They're all working the way they should be. If they weren't, these guys would be
Yeah.
allowed to.
All right.
It's a mess.
Well, thank you. Okay, we need to approve the minutes from September 11th meeting, September 11th special meeting, and October 6th work session meeting.
So I would make a motion to approve the September 11th monthly meeting minutes with the correction of a duplicate on the police report that I guess could be removed. Like there's two different paragraphs in there and they're just a little different. So I would make a motion to approve the September 11th monthly meeting minutes with that correction, with the just that additional paragraph of the police department, and of course approve the September 11th special meeting, and then the October 6th work session meeting minutes.
Second.
I have a motion with the correction for the September 11th business meeting, the September 11th special meeting, and the October 6th work meeting. With a second, all those in favor of approving say aye. Aye. Opposed? All right. So moved. Okay. Correspondence. PennDOT has reached back out, responded to our requests for the multiple traffic studies. In the intersections requested were Mercer Road, Morningstar Mercer Road, and 288, Zilly Road and Pine Hill, at Pine Hill, Dollar General, Tractor Supply, Pine Hill Professional Building, and Hilltop Drive. So they said it could take 8 to 10 weeks, and they will forward us the results of the study when completed. Beaver County Planning Commission, there's a subdivision request that had gone through, and they had given us their comments on the proposed subdivision for First American Enterprises, and that's going to be off of 288 up over into Harmony Fisher. So they were subdividing off another piece of property there. So basically, it was pretty much all standard stuff that the county planning commission sent forward. Conservation District, notice of completion letter for Tractor Supply, and apparently they were reviewed, and it's complete, that the NOI is complete, and they'll now proceed with technical review of the NOI going forward with the Conservation District.
That would be where you would make your comments to the conservation district if there are problems.
Yeah.
Still about, and then ask them to reject the NOI completion.
Okay.
It's a notice of intent to complete the project.
Right.
Well, they're saying, notice NOI for completeness, and now it's in technical review.
Yeah.
So,
Which means they'll come out and do a final inspection.
Yeah, they're going to do a final inspection.
to ask them to look at what Mr. Pepper is, I don't want to say complaining about, probably not the best word, but brought to our
Pointing out.
attention,
Right.
about that stuff. So maybe I can get with you and even get it, I'll send an email out
Mm-mm.
and ask them to look at it, or are you rectifying all that?
Mm-mm.
You said you're down there working, are you rectifying whatever it is that you're,
No,
okay.
We're not doing anything around that.
You're just
Okay.
doing the landscaping.
Just, apparently, Don D'Angelo is gonna mow the grass there. And he's gonna take care of snow removal. We couldn't mow the grass in the back because there was stones and, they just never finished grading and
Yeah.
everything. So we'll rock out and everything and finish the grading and replanting grass, mulching all around the retention ponds and that. So they can mow around there. But nothing around where Schaefer's entrance is.
All right. So the next one is where we start down into the solar farm email. So there's a chain of emails, and there's numerous things in here. Basically, what occurred is right as we were finishing up creating our solar ordinance, Luminous had a landowner that was interested in potentially going in on a solar farm. The landowner had reached out to them. Then the landowner had their company reach out to the township to meet to see what was possible going forward with the results of our solar ordinance already being in place. So April 30th, he had requested to meet with me and our code enforcement officer. So we sat down and we talked. Because any one of our residents comes to us with a problem or a
Is that
concern.
the April 30th or April 7th email?
This is probably the April 7th, but the
Okay.
meeting happened on April 30th. I was there. And so he had reached out looking for discussion on what the solar ordinance would be, if there's ways for them to comply with that or do anything with that. At the request of one of our citizens and one of our landowners, we took the meeting. And we sat down and said, there's nothing, basically going forward, there's nothing we could do because we had set the ordinance. If you can let's start with your neighbors. If your neighbors don't have a problem and we had enough people that were interested in making a change to the ordinance, then we could obviously look at walking back to amend it. That's what they were left with. You would have to come in here with a group of people that were interested in amending that ordinance for anything to even be happening. Anything occurred. That's it, right? It was because anything that would have to go past that would turn into a meeting. It would have to come back before the board. There would have to be hearings. For us to sit and listen to concerns and questions from a resident, it's kind of what we do. That's our job. People come to my house. People catch me at the store. Because they don't want to come to the meetings because they don't want to be shouted down. So we take the meeting. There was absolutely no promises made that anything could be done. So that goes through. And then as we go through, I don't think they revisited anything till September. And then they had reached back out because they were trying to get back into the area to sign on the property owner. And they did not want to sign a lease with him until they had some guidance going forward as to whether they thought it was even feasible. On the phone with this gentleman, I told him, I said, listen, the temperature is no. You can feel free to reach out to either one of the other two supervisors if you choose to do that. Meeting with one of us doesn't constitute a meeting. We don't have to advertise it. It's us gathering information. And there was really, I told them, I said, if you can reach out to one of the other supervisors and they choose to meet with you, fantastic. But I told him up front that the temperature of the project is probably no. Because originally when that landowner came to us, he said all of his neighbors didn't care. And we found out one did. And that right there turns into the problem, right? So they could not convince that other neighbor that it was a good idea. And at that point, it turned into not an idea. So that's where it basically died. They met with Scotty.
Yeah, I can't remember the date. That was
Last week or 2
couple
weeks ago. And again, it does not go anywhere because we have an ordinance in place that prohibits the activity. So the project is not it's null and void. There's nothing that can be done for this landowner.
So I'm just gonna say, like, I felt that it wasn't very transparent. When I seen the email months later, and when the original email said supervisors and solicitors, and then I was never told as a supervisor, I just don't think it was very transparent.
And there's many things that get presented to each one of us on a regular basis that you don't tell me and he doesn't tell me.
I never met with,
And-
to meet with two individuals from a solar company from another state.
And
I just don't think it was being very transparent. That's just my opinion.
it would have been transparent if it felt that there needed to be some action, and there was no action needed because we already had an ordinance in place to prohibit the activity. Listening for people to give us information is one thing, and bringing information that needs to be acted on is a completely
It was
different.
not shared with me, and it was not brought up. It says supervisors. If the supervisors and the solicitor would be willing to meet with our company. Solar is a hot button issue, and I think sending them to the planning commission would have been a better choice.
Well, our ordinance was already in place. They were trying to get a feel for what this looks like going
I'm
forward.
just giving my opinion.
Okay, well, and my opinion
And
is,
that is the way I see it.
okay, well, again, gathering information is what we do. And listening to our citizens is what we're here for. So if one of our landowners, and I will tell you that after we passed that ordinance, I had a couple landowners come to me and say, what am I supposed to do as a farmer other than sell my property to a potential developer to try to make a little bit of extra money? And that was said to me, but they don't want to say it here because they don't want to get shouted down. And I feel that, I hate to be that one that tells you can't do something with your property, but we have to have some kind of regulations in place to control how things are being done. And that's what we're doing. But again, I feel for the other landowners because, and we got this email from the neighbor across the street, I'm believing, the Smiths, and they have some good points. But yes, we can meet without having all the supervisors there, without a published meeting, because that's how we can gather
But
information.
it still should be shared with the supervisors. When you're meeting with two business owners from an out-of-state company, I think it would be a best practice to be transparent about that.
Okay.
And moving forward, I would like to see that.
And when were you notified that this went on?
In September.
And this
April to
is,
September.
And I'll be honest, I was very surprised to see all the emails back and forth.
there was only one
really
email from the April one. And that was them requesting
And
a meeting.
it said phone calls that they talked. And I don't understand.
Do you forward me every email
No,
and phone
but
call
I
that you
think-
have?
I
Okay.
think
then
I
going forward,
can
in
tell
the
you
interest of transparency,
100%,
I would
I
like to
would
know.
not have met with two business owners about putting a solar facility
That was
in our township.
that was
And again, I'm just, it's just
basically
the way
a
I
dead
see
deal.
it.
But if I mean, in the interest of transparency,
Mhm.
they were told up front that it wasn't going to happen. They were coming in here to try to pitch their proposal, and it was post the ordinance already in place. So that's irrelevant. That it became a null point.
I totally felt left out of the loop with this, with transparency, the things that are happening in our township. And it,
If it was not, if it was like a dead issue, then why did he meet with them later?
Well, they wanted to come back because Mr. Moravins, the landowner, felt that he had a case, and that he still was trying to push the case. And when we talked to them, it was like, listen, it's a non-issue. You can talk to us, but you're not going to change anybody's mind at this point. And it's like anything else. Like we're working through this property maintenance ordinance. We passed it. Now we're working on an addendum or changing the ordinance to amend it to try to make sure that everybody has their needs met in that ordinance, and that's what we do. There was nothing in here that was going to change anything, and again, it's just going forward. If this is it's indeed the case, every time that I talk to someone, I will make sure you
if
know
you were
that.
talking to a resident about an issue, which we all happen, but an email that comes into the township requesting the supervisors, plural, and our solicitor, I think that I should have been, I know I should have been involved.
And that's
I got a
pretty big
question for
deal.
Ryan.
I'm just,
Well, I think it's
and
just
again,
because it's a hot button
Yeah, it's a
issue.
big deal, it's not like.
And that's what,
It
I
is.
think people were upset, just, you could nip that in the bud, just.
Well,
by
the
going-
problem is it was already done.
I get it.
Right, there's nothing else that was going to happen other than
I'm
listening
just
to
saying,
their
listen
proposal.
to Our neighbors.
Yeah, and we did.
Are going, listen,
And that's
what's
what
going on? I'm like, well, just ask.
and that's what
why
we
we
told.
brought it up today.
That's why we told the guy up front, if you get your neighbors all involved and they're all good, and then you can get more people involved, then we can go circle back, and then as a board, we can go back and review what the ordinance looks like and see if there's a change that can be made to accommodate some of the requests that we have from our landowners. But as it stands now, that's not the case. So
I think you're missing the point of
Yeah, I
Dana's
agree.
point. Her point was, at this level, a meeting at that level should have involved all supervisors instead of just one. This wasn't just a resident coming in with a question or a concern or wanting to do something with their property. This was a company, the solicitor was involved, the secretary was involved.
I
Well,
was.
she
solicitor was not
Oh,
involved.
sorry,
I was not
okay, I
involved,
take
yeah.
that back then, okay, that's what she said before.
well,
Well,
it
no.
says in the email, did you get the email? Back in April?
I frankly ignored that email, quite
Okay.
frankly, because
So
we had
I-
just adopted that ordinance and
I did
from
not
my
get the email. Yeah.
I believe I received the email,
Okay.
It just,
but I had no
So-
discussions.
so moving
And I-
forward, I just-
transparent, from a transparency
Don't matter.
perspective, recently I did become involved. And I did speak with the supervisors and got a sense of the appetite or the temperature to even address this issue. Because their attorney had called me, reached out to me, and I frankly, I made 2 points to them. One, I didn't believe that there was an appetite with the board and or the community for there to be any amendment to the ordinance we had just passed months prior to it. And secondly, that the better approach would be to go to the planning commission. If
Probably
they
from
had
the
any
beginning.
proposed plans, yes.
Am I understanding this right? Everybody but Dana got notified of this?
I don't know if Scotty got notified of it.
the first
He was
meeting,
there, he was in.
the first
He
meeting,
was at a
they,
later meeting.
at a later meeting when they had requested to meet with either or.
I
The
didn't
first
get notified on that.
the first meeting they had requested the chairman.
Okay.
So-
They requested, the email I got was the supervisors, and it says plural. It doesn't say chairman anywhere in that email.
Is it the same? Do I have this email?
And the way I see it, I mean, we're not getting anywhere here. I just think moving forward, when it involves, like I said,
Well, the landowner brought the company in representing him.
we
Because the
all talk
landowner
to
was here.
residents. I'm
I-
not saying
I'm-
that is
I'm
where we need the
100%.
transparency. It's when the outside entity emails the township, directed at asking for supervisors. It's right here. If the supervisors and the solicitor would be willing to meet with our company, And then it goes on to say, and we would be able to accommodate the supervisors' schedules and solicitors' schedule. And that's where I wasn't told. And that's why I was so surprised to get that email later on. I don't think it was very transparent, and I don't think it should have happened. I think they should have been sent to planning. But I think moving forward, I would
Oh.
assume that's gonna happen.
I took the meeting to accommodate the landowner, to basically tell them that there was really nothing we could do. So that's where
A
that
phone
went.
call would have
And
sufficed. We're
that's-
looking at our
and
zoning ordinance. would have
well,
been
and the rest of it
sufficient.
turned into phone calls because I told them that we weren't going anywhere with it. So, yeah, in the interest of transparency,
And-
that's fine, but then we should all be notified of all conversations.
No.
Because, I mean, if we're worried about things that are going to be like this, then we have to
I'm
be.
worried about emails that come addressed to the supervisors that I don't receive.
Exactly.
That's what I'm worried about. But again, moving forward, I would think it won't happen.
Yeah, oh, no.
Well, all three of us could have showed up anyways. 'Cause
Right.
they
No,
were
we
gonna
would
be-
Had
have
been an
had, we would
advertised
have
meeting.
had,
It
So
hadn't
what's
been
the-
an
what's the
advertised meeting.
that's
People
why
approach you, don't approach him.
it was a company from out of state with two individuals were flying in to meet. And again, it's just the way I see it.
You've
That is the
never
way
taken
I
a
see
private
it.
meeting that you didn't tell the other board about?
No.
And do people from another state buying it?
Well.
Probably not.
All right, so,
It's a big deal.
Um,
that's
Yeah.
all.
It is a big.
People
And
are
when
upset.
we can, like
The
I
reason
said, we
brought
can
it up is 'cause
disagree.
People are upset about this
No.
and
And they're-
stuff going around. We're just clarifying.
It's squashed.
What
There's no-
happened,
There's
right.
there's no solar farm.
Could have been squashed in April, but people have been building since April. And people have known about it and they're angry. So we're just bringing it up. That's all.
And
You can
again,
drive one.
three supervisors, we can disagree, which we do, and move on.
and we,
I'm not- I'm
that's,
just saying it.
and again, and this is the whole temperature of the municipality. We can't all agree, and we shouldn't, because this is how things get done. But what I feel is sometimes these folks that have issues won't come here because they feel like they're going to get shouted down in a meeting, and that's sad that we're there. And it's unfortunate that this occurs, and that they feel that way. But in their interest, that's what we're here to do, is to kind of help work through some of that stuff. So addressing the rest of Mrs. Smith's email, there will be no lease. This business is not coming. There's nothing there. And as far as the agricultural section of that, that's fine. I don't know that land is in the ag security, and if it's just in the AR, is he in ag security?
Just through the township.
Okay. The permitted uses for that property in the AR are limitless here. Basically, people can build there, and it's a legitimate concern that some of our landowners have, that they don't have the ability to do anything other than sell off their property.
Can tell one landowner what they can and can't do with their property.
That's, well, as far as the solar stuff
The
goes.
rest of the neighbors were okay.
Yeah.
Just one.
Well, basically what it turned into was, I told them, I says, you need basically all your neighbors to buy in, and then you need to bring more people to a meeting. Because there's no sense in having a hearing or a meeting unless we're going to get some people to buy into this. So that's where it dies. Because there's the temperature of the municipality is that we are not interested in this. So, rather than have another shouting match at a meeting here between people,
I don't
that's where
think
the solar ordinance ended up.
with the solar ordinance there was any shouting, but I think the public just needs to be involved.
No, and
You know,
you're
like
right.
passing that ordinance, we had a public meeting, about it.
Public hearing, yeah.
We had work sessions, multiple
did.
work sessions about it. And then the three supervisors agreed to pass that ordinance.
Right.
And it was feedback from the public that we took into consideration for that.
100%.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's see.
I have a question to Ryan. Did any of these folks, Ryan, do anything wrong by doing what they did?
No. From a legal perspective, I mean, I'm the solicitor for the board. So from a legal perspective, no. And, they're quite often, because I represent a number of municipalities, I have solicitors, or not solicitors, but attorneys for various developers reach out to me first, just to get a sense from a legal perspective, what, and you and I talked about this, Dana, that they reach out to me and say,
And they should be looking at our website with their own attorneys.
well,
Like,
but
that's
that-
what I
but-
feel.
but- yeah, well, I mean, that's frankly not the way I've ever seen any business done. But they reach out to me, and then, you know, I reach out to the supervisors as a whole. But from a legal perspective, I mean, he didn't break any type of Sunshine Act or Open Records law meeting with them. But that was your question. Did they do anything? And that's the only way I can only answer it from a legal perspective. From a legal perspective, no, there was nothing illegal with that meeting.
So how can we move forward and keep everybody in the loop then from now on?
Just keep everybody in the loop
Just keep it correct.
with
Ms.
written
Baker's right.
communication.
Keep
that
everybody
can
in the
come
loop.
through. But like, to what he had just said, and I'm not sure what
I'm just saying from my practice.
because it seems like when there is an issue, like this outside company, I think that they could have secured their own legal, or their own attorney to review our ordinances and zoning. And I just don't understand why they pick your brain over it when,
Well,
as attorneys,
because
they should know what they're able to
because
do.
municipalities amend zoning ordinances to allow for development and things like that all the time. That's the only reason
Mhm.
I can think is, and again, I spoke with their counsel, and when counsel and I spoke, he indicated that he was just brought into the loop with respect to this potential issue. So a lot of this was done, to your point,
Mhm.
without them speaking with their local attorney. Well, by local, it's a Pittsburgh attorney until it got to this point. And that's when I made it clear that, one, bring it to the planning commission if you want to proceed. But from my perspective, I don't sense an appetite within the township, meaning the community, and or from the board of supervisors.
Anyways,
Yeah, and like I said, that's kind of why we're back with the property maintenance, because we're trying to step back on that one a little bit to make sure that everyone's needs are addressed before we go forward. And then, you know, it's one of those, it's a piece of work that's done, but is it ever really going to be done as we see the problems arise? But yes, so in the interest of transparency, meetings held with outside entities will make sure that everyone's notified, knowing that we can't meet together unless we advertise a meeting. All right. Next order of business will be Dan Maramit's resignation from the Ag Security Committee. Township Agricultural Committee effective October 2nd. He requests to be removed from the Ag Committee. Dan Maramitz.
Mr. Denny, a
Sir.
question about that. What is the process for making a replacement for Dan?
We just have to appoint somebody here.
I would recommend a motion accepting his resignation.
Yeah.
okay, I'll make a motion to accept Dan Maravin's resignation from the Ag Security Committee, starting October 1st. Was that correct?
Second, he listed.
Second?
Yep.
Okay, I'm sorry, October 2nd.
And then just going forward, I would recommend that the township request applicants
Yeah,
Mhm.
to
kind of
be
like we did
appointed.
with.
Yeah, I
zoning.
wouldn't act on that tonight,
Right.
obviously. Just somehow get it out there that that's an open position available and request that applicants apply by a certain date, maybe, so
And-
that you guys can consider it either in the November or December meeting.
And it should probably, I think, be a farmer, correct? Like,
That's what I
because
was
he
thinking,
was,
that
Yeah.
the
there's,
board was made up of 3 farmers.
Yeah.
the
And one board
supervisor,
member, yeah.
and just a member at large.
member of the resident, yeah.
Yeah, and was Dan considered a farmer?
I believe so.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think Bob was.
Kettler's on there.
I think he's just a.
He's a member at large.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Charles
Okay.
Hawkesy would have been another farmer, and he was on his.
Okay.
As a supervisor.
All right. So we have a motion and a second to accept Mr. Robbins' resignation. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Then we'll take action to basically open up. We need a farmer for replacement. So
Everybody's looking at you.
okay. Planning Commission meeting. They talked about a subdivision for Koloski's. Yeah, L&T Koloski. and both lots to be forwarded to the Planning Commission, Beaver County Planning Commission. And then the Emerald Valley discussions were held with the township engineer, and there's a lengthy follow-up on that one with the township engineer. But the Planning Commission recommended that we request the developer to install Emerald Valley Way as the emergency access road that they were planning as a permanent exit from the development to Lake Road in Franklin Township. And if there was a traffic signal that is required out there, that Jackson Township should share the expense. I didn't even see that they had that road even listed as an open road. They were apparently planning it as an emergency
Just
exit.
emergency exit.
All right. I mean, we can push that back to them, right? All right.
They already said no.
Yes, yes.
I mean, that's what they said was no.
I was at the meeting, so what they were asking for was to have an escrow account created in the event that the entrance road onto 288, if in the future there's a requirement to have a traffic light there.
I think the highway occupancy permits, if I remember seeing it correctly, there's required to be a turn lane at both entrances, a left turn lane.
There
What
is.
they're saying is if what the planning commission was the discussion that they had was that if there's in the future, whether it be 2 years, 5 years, 10 years down the road, that a traffic light is needed there because of the inflow of traffic going in and out of the development, that the developer escrow enough money to account for paying for that traffic.
That's not the report we got, but
Well,
I was there, that's what they said.
Okay.
yeah.
Brought it up, it was like $250,000.
Yeah.
So I think just like the traffic study we're gonna be getting down here at Giant Eagle, Mercer Road, Zillinople Road, that whole area, all those commercial businesses went in, and now when the study comes back from PennDOT, they may or may not recommend improvements. They may or may not recommend a light or what have you, and then the township is the ones that have to pay for that. Is there any way to do anything to make this developer help with the future cost of a red light, especially if and when they develop the Franklin Township side or when they develop the Zillinople Borough
There's nothing that's
area?
statutorily particular
Okay.
because it's a state road. I've had the same issue on 18 in New Beaver Borough with the Stone Crest project. The developer in that situation was willing to provide, as you indicated, a certain escrow in the event that it gets to a certain point.
Mhm.
I mean, and it's anticipated that if it does, it might be in 15 to 20 years.
Mhm.
But those numbers, as you know, just like the 100-year flood mark change annually. But there's nothing that we could necessarily do to force the developer to create an escrow for that account.
Okay.
Other than to request it. I do know that the developer is responsible for the costs associated for the
Turn lanes.
turn lanes, correct?
Okay. And then the engineer's report is lengthy, but they have, I think, done a pretty thorough job of reviewing the plans coming out of that mess. I read through it all today. So basically, to sum it up, the water retention in the roads, it looks like most of the time they're recommending that we take Jackson Townships, which are more stringent than ours. And then there's a couple places that we have a little bit more in ours, so they recommend blending ours back in on that one. So the engineers will stay on top of this one to make sure that this all gets done correctly. But yeah, so it's the stormwater runoff, the management, the roads. But Jackson Township standards are, in most instances, higher than ours. So the recommendation would be for us to adopt theirs. And then there's a couple places in here they wrote that ours basically kind of overrode what Jackson Township would have required. So we would then step back and require ours on those instances.
And then they still don't recommend us
Right.
approving it.
We're still not recommending that we approve.
It's gonna be,
Yeah,
It's gonna be a while.
It's gonna go back and forth between the engineers.
Right. It's a pretty lengthy report. All right. Solicitor's report.
The only thing on the agenda is the payment in lieu of taxes. I have reached out to the county solicitor and simply am waiting to hear back. I will follow up with him about the county's appetite to address the profit status of the municipal authority.
How about with the, Ferndale? So nothing is happening with that.
No.
There seems to be,
You know,
I don't know
I
that we-
did speak with the solicitor of the municipal authority.
Mhm.
It's my opinion that this is not a municipal authority issue because it's not related to the public system. So I think this would fall, frankly, on the township's back to enforce, and that would require perhaps our SEO going out.
He doesn't,
He doesn't do it.
he wouldn't be, and then in the ordinance, it said that we wouldn't be, it would be, go fall back on
it falls back on the sewer authority.
No, see, I disagree with that. Again, I mean,
Where?
They're not tied into the public system.
no, they're not tied into
They
the
have,
public
they have the
system.
on-lot system.
It's an on-lot system.
Yeah.
It's, and I've had other municipalities, you know, Wayne Township, for example, they have both public and on-lot systems. And when there's an issue with an on-lot septic system,
But I thought the issue was the lateral lines. That's what they asked them to check. Like Doug Duncan doesn't do that. He said it's a sewer authority.
but if they're discharging directly into the surface ground, I mean, that's a violation of Act 537.
But who's gonna send them that letter?
I mean,
or
if you
their-
guys want to authorize me to
But
do
is
that.
it you or their solicitor? That's where I think the confusion is, that we need to clarify. Who is sending it? Because I thought it was their solicitor. I mean,
Well, that was the thought last time, that they
I
were
don't-
going to address that. But again, it's,
they seem to think it should be you. And I
At the meeting the other day, at the work session when they were discussing the ordinance,
Mhm.
so.
yeah, I mean, I can, you know,
so is it, how do we find out who's responsible for sending the letter?
from my perspective, well, I mean, it wouldn't be the letter, it would be a notice of violation.
Okay.
And then frankly, that's something, I mean, my SEOs pursue them in front of the magistrate if they're discharging this. Obviously, you give them a notice of violation, certain amount of time in order to correct that, but that's generally the SEO's obligation. I mean, Ferndale, I don't believe Ferndale's a community system. It's not connected to the township's municipal system. So that, from my perspective, it does fall within our, but it's not.
Yeah, because there's other mobile homes that Doug, it's over him, it's DEP that enforces it. That goes
Well,
out
I
and
mean,
checks.
we can reach out to DEP, but you reach out to the DEP, they're gonna send you a notice and say, you guys deal with it.
We did.
They already did that. Yeah, so DEP's already put it in our lap. So, I mean, I'm in trial right now in Lawrence County on the same issue.
So do
I mean,
we
it
let
has
go
to be
until
addressed.
Somebody else comes? I mean,
Well, it has to be addressed. I mean, you guys tell me how you wish me to address it. If you believe that it's the municipal authority, I can reach back.
I don't know. That's just it.
Well,
I
from
don't
my
know.
perspective, again, this system does not go into the municipal system, does it?
It's going to the creek bank right
Well,
now.
and I understand that, but I mean, when it was working properly, it was never connected to the Franklin Township,
I
was it?
don't believe, well, that's.
I mean,
why
I'd continue, you know,
Isn't it? I thought it was.
I thought it was too.
I don't know.
You're saying
Why-
the Crater Park is not hooked into the city source.
I'm not saying that. I don't know the
Yeah.
answer to
It
that.
definitely is. I've already checked in on it.
Well, then that's a municipal
Then
authority
it's there,
issue.
yeah,
Yeah,
then
then
it's
that's a
theirs.
municipal authority
Yeah.
issue.
But we could also put it under our mobile home inspection, under the mobile home affairs.
Yeah, but this is a
But
sewer
we're not,
issue.
we're not, like,
Yeah,
Danny
I
Baker's
know.
not gonna go inspect somebody's sewage system.
Like
I mean,
if you saw it, like when we were doing our mobile home inspections, you
but
could.
you don't get out of the car, you drive
Say-
by.
I
Oh,
How
this-
do you know? You're not testing it like, I know. Bronson
This
is.
one I think you can see. It's on the bend in the bottom.
Well, it's easy. I mean, I've talked with SEOs. I mean, you can do it by a smell or a stick test. I mean, just,
The owner of that Crater Park pays the sewer bill as a whole. That's what I was told when I went to the municipal down there and asked.
All right.
So each individual crater doesn't have a
So
sewer bill.
this should go to then the sewer and water, their
and
solicitor
I can
to
reach
send a
out
letter.
and I'll
Okay.
reach out to Anthony Cosgrove if
One thing
we're in fact connected, because some trailer parks have their own community
Mhm.
on-lot system. If this is connected to the,
It should be.
and,
But
I
I
still
didn't know that it
recommend,
was.
I still recommend reaching out to the DEP as well.
Okay.
And I, looking back, I don't even know who brought this up months ago that we've talked about it so many different times.
Oh, well, when I was down there for a fire, the neighbors, the people that lived there were complaining to us about the sewer running off into the hillside. So it was like, we need to look at it and see what's going on with that. All right. Let's see. The COG report, we had our meeting here last month. Nothing really going on because we didn't really meet in August. They're still going forward with, I think we're working on another electronics event. Well, we're doing one here in November. So that came through that. Anything with the chamber? No.
I have not been to their meetings since I've been a supervisor.
All right. So, I'm sorry, I missed the zoning and building work permits. Commercial building permit, the new steeple on the First Church of God. Residential building permits, new manufactured home on Wiley Street, new single-family home on Forest Drive, roof-mounted solar on Birch Street, Morningstar Drive and North Tower, demolition of a single-family home on Jesse Street, and installation of a mobile home on Jesse Street. And those are zoning permits were issued. Fire department report, I don't have one because we are switching software and currently our records are in transition, so they could not supply me with that report today. EMS Alliance, so we have probably our last meeting coming up. Oh, that was today. I think the 24th of October. They're going to finalize the reports. The ambulance services turned over their financials and their requests. So what it turns into is what they're going to request from the municipalities. Are they looking for taxes? Are they looking for payment? Are they looking for an assessment on each municipality or each resident? So as soon as we get the final report, then we can bring that back here for us to discuss.
Is that something that's like a done deal?
No, this is whether we choose to participate or not. Yeah, I'm just sitting, listening, and taking in the information. And then we would have collectively sit down and decide whether it's worth our while to involve. And I have the numbers on how many calls they actually run here in our township. So we'll once they come off with their final report, then we'll have it. Because right now it's just been basically information gathering. There's really not a whole lot going forward. So this is going to be the end of the road here, I think on the 24th, and we'll find out. And Harmony Ambulance is the provider that covers half of this township, and that's why we're invited into this meeting, because they cover a chunk of our township.
So would it only be half of the township?
Well,
then?
that's where we don't know, right? Because if we do it township wide, then you're going to have to share the funds with the other services that cover the township. So it's going to get sticky. I don't know what the end of this actually looks like. It's going to be an interesting. I can't wait to see the final report. But then I'll make sure that everybody has that, and we'll look forward. And I don't know, like it's just like when out of all the people that you have, 46 people are using the ambulance. It's I don't know, but it's kind of like a necessary evil, right? That's where you're at right now. So I'll have that report at next month's meeting because we'll be through basically have the end of that. EMA, we don't have anything. We've been pretty good right now. Police report.
Thank you, sir. Good evening, everyone. Submitted my report for this September month. We had 152 calls, for 4,823 miles. We had 14 hours of training. Actually, we had 3 officers retention training today. That's why the civilian closed here. It was on vehicle searches and other searches, building searches. We have officers continuing to run traffic in the problem areas in the township. I want to remind the residents that the solicitation permits, I said this last meeting, when someone comes and they want to solicit, they have to come here. We have to get all information. We vet them. If their solicitation permit is approved, I give them a copy of it. They must display it prominently around their neck when they go ahead and solicit. We post it on our website as well as on our social media pages for everyone to know this. And should anybody want to either ask them, do you have a permit? Please let me see it. You're well within your rights to do so. If you feel that if someone doesn't want to do that or you want to question that, please call out here and we'll let you know that if they are valid or not. Also, we have the newest officer. He submitted a request to join the Beaver County Drug Task Force program, and that was to each supervisor. I believe that's on the agenda to be voted on. It's also on the agenda. We wanted to explore the possibility of starting a canine program out here in Franklin, exclusively funded by grants and donations. We don't want the township to have to pay for anything. This is going to be all through us doing this. Tentatively, we have two expense reports that we generated. These are going to be on the expenses that are known to us, and I submitted those to the supervisors just for transparency purposes and be on the record. The one report is for a used vehicle. We see them all the time on certain websites for police vehicles with about 60,000 miles upfitted for the canine equipment. This would be inclusive of the dog, all the initial training, the food. Tractor Supply approached me one day and he asked if we had a canine. And I said, no, we don't. We're trying to explore that. And he said, if we do, we'll feed it forever for free. So that's an expense that will be covered by them. The low end with the used vehicles, $38,750. If we were to be able to go with a new vehicle, that expense would be $71,598. So quite a difference. You guys have both of those in your packets. That's all I have.
And utilization of canine, what would we expect?
What I would like to do, tentatively, we're thinking of putting him basically on the afternoon shift, the 7P to 3A, the weekends as well, because that's when most of the things occur. I think out here, as far as Riverside High School would help, our kids go there, make sure they need anything. Any type of public events we would have, the dog would be there as well. And just for patrol purposes, it would be a dual purpose dog, meaning it would search, track, and patrol, which would be inclusive of bite work should a suspect need, apprehended.
Search, you're talking about drugs or just?
Correct, drug work.
Okay.
And searching for lost people, suspects who may run away.
I have another property in another municipality, and someone broke into my house down there, and I noticed it before I went in. I called the police. They brought their canine dog out. The dog ran through the house to see if anybody was in there, and then came back out and was all happy that he didn't drag anybody out. So
we had a canine in the past.
Correct, yeah. Officer Dolphin. Right.
Yeah. Okay.
So again, this is just preliminary.
Yeah.
I believe I had spoken with all you guys, and we're just trying to gather the facts, see what it would cost us, see what the analysis would be.
And there are a ton of
Sorry, sir.
there are a ton of programs that fund a lot of this.
There are programs for that as well. I know the regional department where I'm, on the council there, they got one, and he I don't know where he got all his money. I'm gonna reach out to him, but he got a brand new Tahoe. Bought a spare vehicle in case that one breaks down for some reason. So
One officer be in charge of that dog?
yeah, canine is just a one owner. Yeah, that's just a one owner.
And his availability as needed if we.
Absolutely, it's a full-time officer. Officer Knupper, he's very interested in it. Currently, he works part-time with the sheriff's department, and he is actually, I don't want to say assigned to the canine division, but he helps them out a lot. And that's his aspiration, is he wants to be a canine. They're talking possibly of putting him on for the canine department in the sheriff's department. So
We can't lose him
well, that's
to them. So.
well. I mean, he'd rather stay here.
Uh-huh.
That's what his sentiments are, but it's a lot of work. I mean, it would definitely be a lot of work.
you want to keep him getting
Donate the money.
So yeah,
Okay.
again, this is just preliminary. I mean, this is all new to me as far as how you guys will set it up. I know it's a 501c3 has to be established first, a nonprofit, in order to take donations and everything. So people write it off.
No, yeah.
Correct, yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say, cause you can take donations here.
Sure, yeah, but
Just
the-
can't
It
write
just
it
can't
off.
be a
Correct.
charitable,
So, I mean,
it
when
just
they
can't
come
be a
in and
charitable.
donate $5,000,
Yeah,
you
yeah,
should
yeah,
be
yeah.
able to write it off,
Okay.
that's all.
All right, so you're just looking for a motion to consider allowing you to pursue this?
It would be, yes, it would be to pursue it. And again, the first step is to get that nonprofit status. I talked to Ryan, you don't do that work, you said, correct?
Well, I don't prepare the 501c3 application. I can do organizations of a nonprofit, domestic corporation, obtain an EIN number, create the bylaws, but I suggested an accountant that I know who handles the 501c3 applications.
Any other questions? I mean, this isn't gonna be an overnight process, it's gonna be
Yeah.
a long.
And as a part of that, if you guys want me to give you an estimate as to potential cost of just establishing a nonprofit and doing the bylaw work, the filing fees, separate from the 501c3, I could probably get that in.
Well, the form is $600, cause I know we just did that.
Filing for the
Filing.
state is only like 55.
Yeah.
Filing for the state, well, because this would be a non-profit domestic corporation, I believe the filing fee is $125.
Yeah.
Then you're going to have to advertise that.
Right.
And then you're gonna need to obtain an EIN number, which
Whatever.
is free, but I mean, that's my time involved in doing those
Right.
types of things
So
as
there's
well.
that,
And then creating bylaws for the nonprofit. I mean, I don't think it'd be a significant cost. I'd probably have a couple hours into it,
and then
so.
you're gonna have to pay the accountant.
Correct, and I wouldn't know what those costs are. I mean, it would be more, yeah, I would think that everything all in, and I can speak with, the accountant. I know that he does it for other local nonprofits. I've worked with him on other local nonprofits I've created. And, he recognizes he's dealing with a 501c3, so you change the cost a little bit to accommodate the purpose.
Okay.
But that's part of the investigation, guys, before you
Right.
make any decisions, right? I mean, that's.
And I was gonna say, whatever those expenses would be, we could throw onto our fund, we're willing to pay for all of that, not have the township absorb any of those costs.
So what we wanna do then is just maintain or entertain a motion to allow to proceed to explore setting up the K-9 in the 501c3.
Correct, yes, sir.
Okay.
And that's all I have, sir.
Well, can we do this
wanna do-
motion on Daniel Frederick's participation in the Beaver County Drug Task Force? I didn't know if you wanted to talk any more about that, why he wants to participate in that before we make that motion. I know we went on, talked about the K-9, which I think is great, but
I think they're both great.
yeah,
They're
they are
great.
both great,
It's
yeah.
it's a progression for us as a department.
Uh-huh.
Officer Frederick has a liking, has a niche. It's his desire to do drug work, and that's what his prior coworker in Beaver Falls has transferred to the Beaver County Detectives, and he's in charge of the Beaver County Drug Task Force. So they've already worked together on a lot of drug cases, and he wanted to participate on his off days from here, on his off time from here. So again, it wouldn't incur any additional expenses for Franklin Township, for the residents. And when you apply and you're on one of those teams, should you come across any type of large seizures, money, anything like that, we get half of that. You would get half, and the county gets half as well. The only expense, I believe, was $500 initially, beginning of the year, which covers his unemployment and his workers' comp, should he become injured when he's working in his under the auspices of Beaver County Drug Task Force.
So, and thank you for explaining that. I just want to make sure everybody knows it would cost the township $500 a year for us to agree to let him participate in this. So I would make a motion on Daniel Frederick's participation in the Beaver County Drug Task Force.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to allow Officer Frederick to participate in Beaver County Drug Task Force. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Okay.
Now, this next one, so you have a motion to consider establishing this, but you've already got prices on everything except for this. So why do we need a motion for him to get the costs on other things when we didn't have a motion before the
Well, I
initial
actually
cost.
checked with Mr. Long first pertaining to if we needed the approval to get you offered to establish the 501c3.
And he
but
did.
we're not
And to
making a
clarify,
motion.
yeah, I mean, if you're okay with him continuing to investigate this, I don't think that we need a motion. It would be to adopt the program and to authorize me then to create the nonprofit, create the EIN. So, I mean, there doesn't, if you're okay with the
He's
continuation of
getting
investigating
prices
it.
just like he has already, so I don't see the
Can we
sense
get
of a
the-
motion.
Like I said,
Yeah,
get the
well,
prices of your
we
expenses.
can reach out.
Tell me that,
We
right?
can reach out to, I mean, you and I talked about Mr. Prestia, who's
Correct.
a resident of Franklin Township, and he has a business here within the township where Dr. Dolter is. And that's who I've worked with, quite frankly, before on other 501c3s. And again, if you guys have any suggestions as to folks who have applied for and filed for 501c3s, I'd listen to those as well. But yeah, as far as formally moving forward, if you're okay with him doing what he's already done and continuing to address the next steps, then we don't need a formal motion. The time we would need the motion is when we're actually creating the program, we're spending money with respect to the nonprofit corporation. So that's good.
Yes.
Okay.
All right, so we don't need any further
Now we
action
know,
on this,
yeah,
so
we'll
you're just
continue
gonna
on
keep
and-
moving forward.
Correct. Thank you very much.
and we can touch base and I can make an introduction to Mr. Preston.
I think, because again, the motion is on here too.
Right.
Yeah.
So can we just not act?
Yeah, just on that.
Okay.
That's all. Remove that. You can remove it from the agenda. That's all.
Okay. All right.
Can I use the restroom while you do
Absolutely.
the road report?
All right, and road report.
Trim lower hanging branches, weeds, ahead of tar and chipping project. Tar and chipping project complete. Address the attended ESM training in Washington County. Began mixing salt, general park maintenance, installing a watch children's sign on Birch Street. Began burning Dutch Road. Changed oil in backhoe, skid loader, swept Pander Hollow in Lilyville. Patched potholes on McKim American School. Dug up sunk spot in 555 American School Road. Mowed in Frisco, Lancaster, Lesnut. Fenced off former gas station on River Road. Trimmed trees, South Camp Run Road, Pander Hollow. Graded lower Hickornail Road. Replaced driveway pipes in 524 and 521 Hanson Avenue. Fixed pipes at 917 and 1000 Zellinople Road.
ESM training. What is that?
It's for the dirt road participation in the grants. Actually, I talked to Dana about that, and two of us went. Carl and Mike Grossman attended, and the rest of us will have to attend next year's class.
Good. Thanks for taking the time to do that. I appreciate it.
Okay.
It just allows us to it opens up grant money for our dirt roads, is basically what it's for.
All right. And so our next order of business is to advertise an amendment to the inspection and certification of sewer systems connection requirements ordinance. As requested by our sewer authority, they want to basically change some language in the ordinance to strike smoke and or dye tests, to put dye test and video camera inspection as a more definitive test for the laterals, so that we're not hemorrhaging water into the system and getting charged for it. Do I have a motion to advertise this?
Yeah, I make a motion to advertise the inspection and certification of sewer systems connected, resident sewer, yeah, required ordinance, recommended ordinance.
Second? I'll second that motion. We have a
So this is where I wanna have the discussion.
okay.
And I just wanna make sure that everybody's aware that it says in here, any person who fails, neglects, or refuses to comply with any terms or provisions of this article upon conviction thereof in this action brought before the magistrate district judge in a manner provided for the enforcement of a summary offense, that goes on, shall be sentenced to pay a fine of not more than $1,000 plus cost and in default of payment of said fine costs to a term of imprisonment to the extent allowed by law. And then it goes on, the bottom says, each section of this article which shall be found to have violated shall constitute a separate offense. And I know that the solicitor gave this to us 2 months ago. And Monday, they did come to answer questions. I did not have my notes ready for him, and I should have had my notes ready for him, so I'm not blaming. It's not like they didn't answer it, but you know, I read things over and over again before making a decision, and I even re-listened to the presentation, or I'm sorry, the explanation that the solicitor gave at our last meeting, and he had said, don't rush into this. And it seems like the fines or the severity of them, we want them to comply, but I do think, especially the fact that it says separate offenses in the last paragraph. And then when I looked under the video camera inspections, you had said it was basically to make sure nobody was tapping illegally into there. And it says stormwater, groundwater, surface water.
Right.
But we need to have also maybe, you know, sewage that's illegally tapped. I thought that was the whole purpose of it.
Well, and that will, and from what I understand, that will, those types of camera, aside from the violations for,
The fine seems to be extreme.
from a practical matter, and I appreciate that because that's the language in the ordinance. But from a practical matter, usually what happens is the parties don't close because they're also requested. This is anytime property would be bought and sold.
Anytime property's bought and sold, I totally understand. But because they can, and they've always been allowed to do this, and I have not read this ordinance.
I've never seen somebody, I can tell you this, but I can't guarantee it. I've never in 27 years of practice seen somebody who's violated an ordinance like this that even provides for imprisonment, because this is, I've seen this language in a number of other ordinances, ever end up in prison. At worst, it would, well, put the world on notice that, yeah, this is one of the potential
and I do understand we need to stop the stormwater from going into the sewer system, and I know that they had sent the numbers over for how much, and it says the end of September is 310,000 gallons extra, and I did ask to see how many residents are hooked up to the sewer, and I don't know that number yet. And again, not their fault. I just want to make it clear. I asked for the information late, so I'm not. You know, they've given the information, but I asked for it late in the game prior to this meeting.
And a camera test is a more invasive test that determines, like a dye test, whether or not there are potential leaks or stormwater getting into, or now even potentially illegal tappings.
The violations and penalties to me is extreme. And then I did look, and again, I'm not an engineer, but I did look at the numbers that we had.
And can I recommend something? I mean, given this discussion, that's a fair point. I mean, you know, you can approve the advertisement of the ordinance if you wish, with the exception that we, you know, make it a summary offense not to exceed $100 and have no reference to a term of imprisonment, for example. You can do that. I mean, that can be changed.
So what seems really weird to me, and I know nothing about our sewer water. I'm not even claiming to, other than taking a crash course, but if my numbers are right, in September,
Yeah, I think she listed that backwards
okay, because
because I looked at that too.
the rain
Yeah.
was more in September and they
Yeah.
lost less gallons
Right.
and the rain was less
I think
in
she
August,
gave you. I think she gave you the numbers
and it was double.
backwards. Right.
And that's what I'm like, it's not making sense to me.
Right.
And I can't make a decision if I don't understand it, so.
Right.
And it's not our,
And this was requested by the folks that are experts on sewer in the county.
it's been like 5
And the
years in the
township.
making,
Yeah.
I think, and,
Yeah,
and
I mean,
that's
I
what you had
reached out to
said,
you guys, I think, last year,
Yeah.
I mean,
Mhm.
because the prior solicitor
had not done
reached
it.
out to me about
Right.
whether or not the board would be,
And so
amenable to considering cameras.
this
in
is
these
this an
types of
amendment to
inspections.
the ordinance, or is this an ordinance that we're putting in?
No,
This
this
is
is,
the
this is an amendment in the
to the
ordinance,
ordinance.
because as it stands right now, we do require the smoke and dye test.
Right.
I mean, so.
Is the violations and penalties in addition to this, or is this
No, so
it's
there,
in the
there
current
were
ordinance?
violations, correct, there were violations, I mean, there were provisions for enforcement before.
Yes.
But not imprisonment.
But that language, if you read it, it's, the prior section is removed in its entirety and replaced with what Mrs. Baker
Right.
recited earlier with respect to a term of imprisonment. I mean, that, and I don't find that to be an issue with respect to whether you adopt it, because we can always remove that language.
So when
And
we
you guys can agree
advertise
to
it.
there being a particular fine as opposed to any term of imprisonment.
Right.
Now, the other issues that, Mrs. Baker brought up, I mean, that's entirely up to the board and how they wish to proceed.
Okay. Well, I mean, taking out the imprisonment, but I still think on the suggestion of our sewer authority that we need to move forward, at least advertising this ordinance to be for hearing.
Well, there wouldn't be a hearing.
So we're just going to advertise that we're
All we would have
before
to
we
do is
adopt it.
advertise it correctly.
Okay.
Because it's not.
And every offense is a separate offense.
Yeah.
And it's,
Well, it should only be one offense. Basically, if the thing
that's
doesn't
not what the wording says.
right, but if the house doesn't pass, it's not going to close.
Mhm.
So
Well, I'm not talking about a house being sold, bought or sold. I'm fine with that. I did kind of wonder about a house that was just transferred from one family member to another, and I did ask the Mr. McKenna about that. If a family member wants to transfer their house from one to another,
I think they can do that. Yeah.
but they have to have the dye test.
Yeah.
And that's when I
That's
didn't
an
know if
exception
it's
in
a
some-
dollar, like if somebody's transferring it, why do they have to have the dye test if it's like, and those were just the things, and again, I just picked out because that's, I do look at things.
I mean, it's up to you. I mean, I'm more than happy to go back to Mr. Cosgrove, who's the solicitor for the municipal authority. You tell me. I mean, if you wish to adopt it with a revision
Thank you.
removing each, the offense language and the imprisonment language, we can proceed that way as well.
yes,
Just giving you options, but ultimately it's.
I mean, we're leaking hundreds of thousands of gallons of water into that system that we're getting billed for. So, yeah, if we want to eliminate, if we want to redact
And
the
I do
violations
want to
and
ask a
penalties.
question. So they have the ability now to check those systems.
They can
And-
check their main lines. They cannot check your house.
Yes, they can.
They can't come in and camera
They
they can't do the
can't camera it,
laterals.
but they can come in
Well,
and
they
do a
can-
dye test.
They can do the dye tests, but that's not going to be definitive
Mhm.
on the
Yeah,
problem.
from what I understand, and again, I'm not an SEO,
Mhm.
but the dye test addresses if there's leaks in your line.
In your
basically.
line, right? Not
Yeah.
whether there's water coming
To
in.
ensure that the lateral line is sufficient to carry the sewage from the
It's
home.
to stop the amount of sewage that the treatment facilities are processing versus what we are
Correct,
paying for.
yeah, the water,
And there's an
illegal
excessive
taps.
amount.
Illegal taps is an issue because, I mean,
Yeah, they can dye test. Well,
it's
unfortunately,
entirely up to how you guys want to handle it.
people put their downspouts into their sewage. Some
I
places.
mean, if we want to investigate this more, I mean, it's
To change it and talk to them I think a little more about it, but I would definitely be more interested in the numbers and to see what changed to increase this and how many people are there, because that breaks it down. You know, if there's 310,000 gallons going through there in a month and divide that by, I don't know, even 1,000 residents, like what is the difference? And is it coming from like the businesses like Giant Eagle or the North Star Plaza or Calgon? Is it coming from the bigger places, or do we have 100 residents that are illegally putting extra water into the sewer system? That's what I was totally intrigued by the numbers that were sent and reading this, and we don't have periodic testing or fines on this end of the township that aren't hooked up to those, but we also don't
Well, and
have,
that's another change is periodic testing.
but we also don't have water going into the sanitary sewer system, so.
Because the dye test was just on a as-needed basis based upon a particular real estate transaction.
No,
And that's,
they could do periodic testing with the dye testing.
did they?
And
Well,
the
with the
previous
dye
ordinance.
testing, I'm talking about with
Oh.
the cameras. I mean,
Oh.
this just
Mhm.
isn't, so folks are clear, this just isn't when property is sold. This is essentially giving them the right if there is.
Oh, if they
to
feel
believe
that there's a
an issue,
violation,
correct.
right, if they feel there's a violation, right. And that solved some issues, Clearwater,
Mhm.
because they were told that there was a problem, and then they cambered it and found out there wasn't a problem.
Mhm.
So that was a definitive answer for that. I don't want this to languish like we've done other things. So with the rewrite of
I would want the specificity as to how you wish me to rewrite it. Looking at it, I understand then that you would want the removal of the imprisonment language.
yes,
And then we have each violation is considered a separate offense.
violation.
And we've got fine numbers and things like that.
How about when a family member transfers to another family member? Could you do away with that? The cost or anything from perspective?
I do see that as an exemption, even for example, in Elwood Borough. That's an exemption.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, we can add that exemption.
And are
Because you
they,
still have the right to periodically test that particular,
Yeah.
if you believe that there's an actual issue.
Okay. So yeah, cap the fine, remove the imprisonment.
Well, do you want me to, I mean, again, $1,000 fine, I mean, that's what the magistrate is authorized to necessarily fine an individual under a summary offense. Doesn't necessarily, if you want to cap it at 500, doesn't necessarily mean any offense would be a fine of 500 depending on the circumstances. The magistrate could assign a $100, $200, $300, $400, or $500 fine. So,
Why can't you just give them a warning?
and
well, and that happens. And honestly, I mean, that's how I see it work most often in most municipalities. It's when you're dealing with the reticent property owner that
And it comes
is
back to-
refusing.
our stormwater infrastructure needs to be upgraded. I mean, right? I mean, in our
Every
entire,
municipality in here.
Okay.
So I don't have a problem with the 1,000 from a legal perspective. But if you want to cap it at 500,
Well,
that's fine.
if 1,000 gets your attention to get it fixed, then
then they won't have the money to get it fixed.
Well, and that's a good point because I've been involved in those situations.
We want to get them to comply.
And
not,
you know, and quite often we've said, listen, just get it done. We're not going to pursue the fine.
Right.
And then the municipality won't pursue the fine. But we can cap it at 500, you know.
yeah. I wouldn't go
Again, that's
less than
just the
500.
authority that we're giving the magistrate to fine. So if you want to cap it at a smaller amount, remove any reference to the fine and cost and no reference to imprisonment.
Yeah.
We've had problems with other people, not following through what we tell them to, so that's more of an incentive.
All right. So,
$1,000 fine and imprisonment's not an incentive.
Well,
The
imprisonment we can get rid of.
The imprisonment, if you read the language,
But
only occurs in the event that you don't
It's like
satisfy the
speeding.
fine.
Yeah.
And it's like, speeding or stopping at a stop sign or the whole thing,
Well,
it's,
bench warrants are
they
issued
have
for
to
folks
want.
not paying their fines for speeding or for not
Yeah.
stopping at a stop sign.
We'll have to look at some infrastructure grants in the future to
Yeah.
maybe lessen
Okay.
some of this.
so, again, we can advertise this ordinance with those changes.
Correct. Now, with respect to the last sentence, that each day that the fine or the violation exists, however you wish to handle that. I mean, is it one offense?
It's just one offense.
Okay, so we'll just remove that language in
Yep.
its entirety.
Yep.
So then what I have is that it will stop at, she'll be sentenced to pay a fine of not more than $1,000 plus cost.
We'll go to 500.
Is that what you're proposing as a part of the motion then?
Yes.
Just for clarification of the motion, Shannon.
And transferring property within a family should preclude the,
And where specifically, there's no exception.
yeah, I didn't see an exception in here. There isn't. All the paperwork still has to be filed with the county and everybody else anyway when you transfer the deed.
Well, and you know what, this is amending the existing ordinance. I don't have the existing ordinance. The existing ordinance may already have an exception with respect to the smoke and dye test for transfers between the family members. So if that's the case, that would already be accepted. If not, then what we would want to do, because I'm sure there are exceptions during a real estate transaction. Because we already have an ordinance in place requiring this. This is just
The last page does show section 235-45 is repealed in its entirety.
What section is that?
Last page, section 4, it says the code of ordinances is repealed in its entirety and replaced with the following. And section 4 might just be the violations of.
I'm thinking that's probably what it is. I'm thinking that there may be a section in that ordinance that provides for exceptions and that transactions between family, because, I've done transfers for property here in Franklin Township that was connected from a mom and dad to a son. And you're not required to obtain a smoke and dye test. I've done real estate transactions, obviously, where it was from the owner of the property to a third party unrelated, in which case, we had to have the smoke and dye test. So I suspect, the motion can be tailored to provide that in the event that the existing ordinance already doesn't provide for that exception, then that would be added. But if it does, then it's already in the ordinance.
I had told Mr. McKenna, I just remember when the sewer and water came through, what a burden it was, like for my grandma. And I just
Well, this is going to cost more.
like, again, if she didn't have a sump pump in her basement, but if she did, or she wouldn't have known if her gutters where they were going, just that they went into the ground, she would have not have known that. And those are the people that I think we're thinking about here.
Well, and I see this trend in municipalities because most municipalities do require at the very least a dye test. But I do see a trend of municipalities requiring.
But we would be the first one requiring this, right? That you said of the surrounding areas last time.
I know Elwood Borough doesn't. I know North Sewickley Township doesn't. I don't know what Zillinople may.
Zilli does smoke test.
I don't know that. I know the municipalities I represent, which are roughly 7 or 8. And this doesn't make it right or wrong. They require dye tests, but
not
again,
the camera.
Correct, but the trend is
For selling or buying a house, I'm totally for it. Transferring, I'm not, and I think the fine is excessive. But
And again, it doesn't get to the fine status.
and the transferring. When you say transferring, you mean between family
between
members?
family.
Well, yeah, that I think that the motion will provide that is an exception to the cost of transfer.
Yes. All right, so we have a motion and a second with the changes in the verbiage to eliminate each day of the violation of the article continues, or this section of the article, which shall be found to have been violated, so constitute a separate offense. We'll take out the jail time. We'll make the fine a maximum of $500. And then if there's not already language in the current ordinance to not
Accepting
require
family
accepting
members.
family member transfers, then we will make sure that that is added.
Okay. And I suspect, just based upon my past experience,
Right.
Handling closings within the township, that it is an exemption.
Right. And I can speak from personal experience because when we bought our house and it was after the sewage was put in, it was not done right. And then when it broke, it was on us because nobody had tested it correctly. When the terracotta that should not have still been there failed, it was a problem that cost me a lot more money. So I would have liked to have known that up front. So I have a motion and a second on the floor to advertise this ordinance with those amendments. All those in favor say aye. Aye.
No,
Opposed?
I'm opposed. And I would like to see it in print before I would be approved.
It will be because.
I mean, just saying before we would vote on it.
No,
We're
but
just
yeah,
advertising.
This is
when I
advertising.
advertise it, I have to make.
Yeah.
I mean, we have as a township. It's going to be posted right there. It'll be posted on our
Yep.
website. And just for clarification, just so there's no confusion, there's not going to be a public hearing prior. It's not a zoning amendment, so there's not going to be a public hearing. It's just like adopting a standard ordinance, like we would with the International Board of Property Maintenance Code.
But this helps us keep it moving forward. All right. So we're probably going to have to set a special meeting to take action on the road department contract because we have to go do our executive session today, and we have to have basically decisions made by the end of the month. If we're going to make
Yeah,
some
I'd make a
changes
motion
in
to
that.
schedule a special meeting to take action on the road department union contract.
So a motion to go ahead.
Second.
All right, so we have a motion and a second to go ahead and advertise to schedule a special meeting when we figure out what we need to do for the road department contract. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right. ASA program?
I had a question to the supervisors and to Ryan about the ASA. I think with all the comments we received from the new comp plan, people would like to see us do more things in our township. And I thought a presentation to explain the ASA, which most people don't understand, would be nice. And I wasn't sure what I needed to get approval to have that done. The agricultural security area. And it's basically, I think the biggest thing is it does protect them from the nuisance ordinances, which we've learned a lot about going through our property maintenance agreement. And it also protects them against eminent domain. That's the big one. And I think more people need to know about it, that they can actually be protected.
And there's
if they would
someone in the
participate.
county I know that came to North Swiftly a few years ago to discuss.
Well, I was gonna ask our local ASA board. to
Yeah,
do it.
exactly. Or I think there's also
Jim
someone.
Spiker is here, and I thought it would just be, depending on how many people are here now, we'd have to count, but we would have to limit it. It would have to be signed up, but a lot of people don't know.
I mean, you could do it because it wouldn't be, I mean,
It's not a meeting. We
there wouldn't be a meeting. I mean, you could advertise it for 7 o'clock after the next meeting or, 5 o'clock before the next meeting.
It's whatever date would work. with
Whatever,
the
yeah, I mean,
ASA, board.
And you don't need a formal motion to do that. Yeah, I mean, just to get that scheduled. I mean, it doesn't even have to be on a
Informational
meeting
program.
night. If you guys want to do it any other time, because you three can be there, but as long as you're not discussing and deliberating agency business, it's not an issue.
Yeah. I think it would be a good idea. So again,
makes
use
sense.
of the facility, I would be willing to open it up and lock it up. But I just, like I said, I would just have to schedule that use of this room with Shannon and who would actually speak, and then get some handouts printed. But I think it would be beneficial for the public to know more about the agricultural security area and what it does. I think a lot of people are under the impression it just gives a tax break to farmers, and it does not give any
There's
tax
other
break to farmers. So
Do you have any idea? I mean, how much acreage do we have in right now? Do you know?
I did know that number. Quite a few.
No idea.
Yeah,
When we had our other meeting, I had that number.
Yeah.
I know Shannon has a list of all the farms.
I guess the question would be how many do you think we're missing that may or may not know? I would think that
you only need 10 acres.
yeah.
And the ability to produce $2,000.
Right, if Dana would advertise for a meeting and 2 people responded, yeah, I want to learn more about it, then okay, most everybody knows about it.
Right.
whether they know all of the facts about it or not, what it does or doesn't do, would yet to be seen, but, I don't know, it's put out there pretty well, but
Yeah, we
you
can
guys
always
get more calls in on it for what it does.
throw it out.
And I'm okay with the motion addressing that, just for
I mean,
purposes of it being in
It's
the
just an
minutes.
informational.
That there be a motion that, that the supervisors will arrange for and schedule a meeting for greater explanation of the ASA program, I think would be fine.
I'm not even sure if it'll be this year or not.
Yeah, well,
Because we're at,
well, as long as you do the
October.
motion, you can always
Okay.
schedule it at another point, yeah.
So you framed that motion, and I'm gonna make the motion that you just framed.
You have that, Shannon?
I'll get it.
Okay,
Just a motion for the supervisors to coordinate and schedule a meeting with perhaps members of the ASA and
just
the
the general
community.
public,
And the community,
the
correct,
community.
as to the
It's not just a meeting for farmers, I think it's
no,
a
it's
meeting
for
to
the
just
general public,
educate everybody
yeah,
to
to understand the
it, yeah.
ASA program. If you want me to look at the minutes before it goes into the,
Second.
All right, motion and a second to put together a program to present the ASA information to the municipality. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right. Volunteers.
I had a question on volunteers. We've talked about this multiple times. We've had people in the community want to volunteer. I just still don't have any or remember real clear direction as to how we can utilize that. I mean, I know that we had a student come in here I can't remember if it was this year or last year. And I know it was, for high school.
senior project.
Senior project, that's what it was. But if we can maybe let the residents know that there may be other projects available to them, and I did not talk to Bronson about this, but there may be even students that might want to, and I'm not sure about the liability there. I don't know if we have a blanket liability for volunteers here or how long we've had our insurance company. So, okay, so we're fortunate then to have that. But, and I'm not saying he may or may not want to do it, but I think it would be nice to open it up to people that want to volunteer to have that opportunity and know that we need help with different things within the township. Even if something as simple as copying or maybe helping, I don't know, helping with something around here.
Landscaping out front.
Yeah. The out front does need a little sprucing.
I didn't say it
That's
because
okay.
I consider there to be any issue, just.
It's,
No.
You know, we did talk before about doing something to the front of the building, but yeah. So that again, I'm not sure how to go about it. You know, do we just put it out there, say if you're looking for volunteer opportunities, and that even would be picking up trash or maybe helping at the Franklin Field, or I said I feel like there's a need to have somebody else help us with National Night Out, but that would be under the chief because he's going to be in control of that. But you know, I think there's some things we can maybe get somebody to put into a spreadsheet that might be beneficial. Even sewer and water authorities, maybe get some of those numbers down and see what's going on. But I think it would just be a good idea. But I just wasn't sure if it's just if I say we have a volunteer willing to give, 4 hours, do you have anything you can do to, offer them? So, and the same would go for the fire department because and Steve said this many times, there's a lot of things people can do, not necessarily just fighting fires, but things that we can use help with.
Yeah.
So.
I've reached that out, and I do get kids from the school that'll come and see me, and I'll give them things to do.
Maybe just a note on the website or
Yeah.
out front.
If we have people looking for volunteer opportunities, we can sure accommodate them.
Okay.
All right, facilities.
This was put on here in general, but I know most recently there was, we all got the email about something kind of odd happening in our parking lot. And it's been talked about multiple times that Shannon, Addie, and then Kristen, our tax collector, in here by themselves a lot of times. And we were discussing, actually I talked to the chief And I know he's talked to different people. I think we've all talked to somebody within this township about it, but doing something more for security. And it's not to keep the public out or lock you out, but just to do something maybe so when Shannon is here by herself. or
Control
Kristen's
the
here,
entrance,
Control, prevent people from coming in.
just walking in the building.
But
So probably the quickest fix of that's gonna be an intercom with a buzzer for the door. It'll activate the door from the office.
And
I would think.
they already have cameras, and I know
Right.
I didn't like when I went to a township building, was not able to get in. I mean, I was like, pulling on a door, and I was like, why can't I just walk in there? So I did not like it, but I do know here, even I've come here at times, and Shannon's been in here by herself. And she has cameras and a door that locks, but I think that we could do more.
You go into the county government center, you've got a metal detector, you've got sheriffs, you go into any, state or federal government building, the exact same thing. And I'm seeing more and more of that where it's an inconvenience, but there's a buzz-in system.
Because our police they're not
They're
here.
not
They're
here
out
all the
patrolling,
time.
but that was, I think, I'm sure I have more, but
Something we should probably explore.
Start
Yeah.
looking at quotes of,
Yeah. Okay.
What about looking into a Raptor system like the school system uses, where your ID's already into a system, comes up on a screen if you have any
Talking about
issues?
not the employees, the public.
That's what I mean. Everyone who enters the school where I type, everyone goes through the Raptors, what's called a Raptor system.
same thing,
They don't
they
even
take a
get-
photo of you, you give them their driver's
They
license.
don't get in the building until that's
Correct,
completely
yeah.
clear, so the machine would have to be set up in like an area, Shannon would have access through it. It would come up on her screen, and they could get in, get out.
I
Very
don't
nice.
think that would go over well, that people would have to actually give a photo ID to get into the township building. But,
Why couldn't you just have a buzzer when it do
Push
it?
a button on the buzzer,
Why?
And she can see you in the camera and let you in.
You buzz them in.
Same thing with the police.
Yeah.
through her door.
An intercom system with that front locking door, yeah.
we'll have to explore it, but that was, so that's it for me. But I just wanted to bring it up now, so if and when, some ideas are made, it's not a surprise to everybody, at our next
Give her
meeting.
some guns.
Yeah.
She had one at one time for
No,
security.
I
She
didn't.
didn't have it. She didn't have it.
All right.
Yeah.
She
So-
didn't have it, but
I've only shot a gun once when I was like 12, but a hunting rifle.
Okay.
I have to finish. So before I became a supervisor, I went through and I read all the minutes, that I could read online. And one of them was, to my surprise, in one of the meetings, I'm not sure which chief it was. I know it was not this one, but thought it would be a good idea for our secretary to have a gun. And it was like, what? And then I asked, and then Shannon's like, she doesn't have a gun, but we had to, it was just very interesting. The times have changed. So
You can come down to my house, you can pick one.
Yeah.
Everybody should have.
All right.
Have it on all the time.
Secretary's report.
We did a data collection of the blighted properties throughout the township and submitted it to the county. The county is creating a map of some of the properties that are of concern. And then now we're eligible for additional funding, also through the community block grant. We did that last one over on Lancaster, but this will give us additional funding for other projects. So shockingly, there was a lot of properties. I didn't realize there were so many. So, but that'll be good. And we'll have a GIS plus the mapping. And then also that ASA is actually, if you go on the county website, you can click the GIS thing, and the ASA, all the egg security properties will pop up.
It's an overlay on the.
It's really nice. And the preservation's in purple and the ASA is in a pink, orange or pink or something.
Yeah, the county GIS has got a lot
It's
of
really
layers.
nice, but it's just from the front page. You have to click on it.
Yeah. Okay. Anything else, Shannon?
No.
All
I
right.
think all those homeowners will agree. I'm sure they would. Thank you.
All right. I need a motion to pay the bills.
Make a motion, to pay bills.
I second it.
I have a motion and a second to pay the bills. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right. So we do need to go into executive session this evening.
And just to make it clear, I mean, are you guys going to be taking any official action after that, or just come back in and adjourn? Just so the public knows.
Yeah,
I mean,
we're just gonna look at the proposals.
Okay,
We're not gonna take any action on that contract tonight.
yeah, so then, just so they know, I mean.
Yeah, that's why we're
You can
scheduling.
stick around, but we're just gonna be adjourning right out of executive session.
Thank you.
So,
All right.
Hey, boys and girls.
Yep, go ahead.
Since you guys were talking about like the trailer park at Ferndale, and the systems, like on-lot systems, I know the one out here has an on-lot system.
It does.
And shouldn't the inspection that we do on the trailer park include the sewer guy that does that?
No, it's actually DEP for Smithwind. Yeah, it's
because an on-site
it's a
storage.
larger system than he inspects.
What if you notice runoff?
They're actually,
Yeah.
yeah, and it's actually, getting inspected
Yep.
periodically with, DEP currently.
Okay. But, and then.
If you see that anywhere, contact me.
Yeah, with the inspection, or the yearly, annual fee that they have to pay. With the budget thing, it was $25. Is that even $25 every time?
They don't get, it's not really, it's more my paperwork and
Yeah,
like
it's
the,
just her file.
and the postage.
But shouldn't it go up then?
They haven't even paid it.
Well, we had to.
Oh, okay, well, then
They
we've had
haven't
to.
paid it?
Yeah.
We've had to.
Should they pay it? They have no consequences. Shouldn't there be some sort of consequence? Like they shouldn't be able to.
It's probably something we're going to have to look at and put on the long list of ordinances that need to be revisited.
And we can increase the fee, that's probably something we can do.
Yeah.
You're going to jail for a sewer.
At a organizational meeting.
That's when all the fees are set.
Provided the ordinance allows for the fees to be set by resolution of the
That's
board of
probably another
supervisors. So we
really-
would want to look at
Really
that.
old one.
We
And if-
were,
Okay, all
and
right.
we did up it from 10 to 20 this year, and then so hopefully we can up it whatever you decide.
Yeah, I mean,
Okay.
$100, 150 is not unreasonable.
No.
Well, it's basically like, I know I know about me and Bronson going, it's either in the spring or in the fall now when you can't see anything, but it wouldn't cover, his wages or the gas, of going around. So.
Any other questions before we adjourn into an executive session?
Purpose of the executive
The executive
session,
session.
just for the record.
Yeah, just for the record, is our road crew contract is up at the end of this year, so we have to make a decision before we can finalize our budget. This has to be done by December. So that's what we're gonna work on.